Have you ever wondered if you're unknowingly sabotaging your own potential? Or worse, surrounding yourself with people who are dragging you down without even realizing it? These are questions that many of us avoid asking ourselves, yet they are crucial for personal growth and self-awareness. In this exploration, we're diving into 6 unmistakable signs of a foolish person, as understood through the lens of Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that has stood the test of time. By the end of this discussion, you might feel a bit uncomfortable, but you'll also gain powerful insights to reshape your life. The Stoics, philosophers who lived over 2,000 years ago, were obsessed with one thing: living a life of virtue, reason, and wisdom. To them, wisdom wasn't just about knowing facts or sounding smart. It was about mastering yourself and the world around you. Stupidity, on the other hand, was considered the greatest enemy. It wasn't about being uneducated. It was about a mindset, behaviors, and attitudes that lead to ruin. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." This statement encapsulates the essence of foolishness, a refusal to acknowledge one's own ignorance. Let's delve deeper into the 6 signs of a foolish person as illuminated by Stoic philosophy and explore how these traits manifest in everyday life. The first sign of a foolish person is their refusal to listen or learn. A foolish person is like a locked door. They hear words, but they don't truly listen. They dismiss new ideas because they're too proud to admit they don't know everything. This arrogance is a significant barrier to growth. Consider Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful emperors in history, who wrote in his journal, "If anyone can show me my error, I will gladly change my ways, for the truth is my only concern." Imagine the most powerful man on earth being ready to admit his mistakes. Now, compare that to someone who stubbornly clings to ignorance just to protect their fragile ego. The difference is stark and frustrating. A foolish person's inability to listen or learn not only stunts their own growth, but also creates friction in their relationships and interactions with others. They miss out on valuable opportunities to improve themselves and their circumstances because they are too busy defending their own limited worldview. This refusal to learn is a hallmark of foolishness, and it's something we should all strive to avoid in ourselves. The second sign of a foolish person is that they are easily offended. Have you noticed how some people react to criticism with outrage or hostility? This is a glaring sign of foolishness. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, believed that anger is a weakness. He said, "A man's greatness lies in his ability to endure insults without resentment." Fools, on the other hand, take everything personally. They don't understand that criticism can be a gift, a tool for growth. Instead, they lash out, destroying relationships and opportunities in the process. If you've ever dealt with someone like this, you know just how exhausting it can be. Their hypersensitivity to perceived slights or criticisms often stems from deep-seated insecurities. Rather than using feedback as a means to improve, they see it as an attack on their character. This defensiveness not only prevents them from growing, but also alienates those around them. The Stoics teach us that true strength lies in the ability to remain calm and composed in the face of adversity, and this is a lesson that foolish individuals desperately need to learn. The third sign of a foolish person is that they chase pleasure above all else. Fools prioritize temporary pleasures over long-term fulfillment. Seneca warned about this, saying, "The fool's life is empty of gratitude and full of fears. Its course lies wholly toward the future." Whether it's overeating, overspending, or chasing toxic relationships, they are constantly seeking the next high. They don't realize that true happiness comes from self-discipline and aligning your actions with your values. Watching the self-destructive cycle of someone who is a slave to their impulses can evoke a mix of pity and frustration. The pursuit of instant gratification often leads to a life of emptiness and regret. The Stoics emphasize the importance of moderation and self-control, recognizing that indulging in every desire only leads to a lack of fulfillment. A foolish person, however, is unable to see beyond the immediate pleasure, and this short-sightedness ultimately undermines their potential for a meaningful and satisfying life. The fourth sign of a foolish person is that they blame others for their problems. Fools are masters of excuses. If something goes wrong, it's never their fault. Epictetus pointed out this behavior, saying, "A man is not disturbed by things, but by the view he takes of them." Wise people take responsibility. They know that while they can't control everything, they can control how they respond. But fools? They'd rather point fingers. This mindset keeps them stuck in a cycle of failure and resentment. And if you're around them long enough, it can pull you down too. Blaming others is a way of avoiding accountability, and it's a trait that is deeply ingrained in the foolish mindset. By refusing to take responsibility for their actions, foolish individuals perpetuate their own suffering and prevent themselves from learning and growing. The Stoics teach us that true freedom comes from accepting responsibility for our own lives, and this is a lesson that foolish people often fail to grasp. The fifth sign of a foolish person is that they talk more than they think. Here's a classic one. Foolish people love the sound of their own voice. They'll talk endlessly, interrupting others and throwing out opinions without any real thought. The Stoics believed in the power of silence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Better to trip with the feet than the tongue." Words have weight, and a wise person speaks with purpose. But a fool? They're like a leaky faucet, constant noise, no substance. This tendency to speak without thinking often leads to misunderstandings, conflicts, and damaged relationships. Foolish individuals are so focused on expressing their own opinions that they fail to listen to others or consider the impact of their words. The Stoics valued thoughtful communication and understood that silence can often be more powerful than speech. By contrast, a foolish person's inability to hold their tongue is a clear indication of their lack of wisdom and self-awareness. The sixth and final sign of a foolish person is that they fear change. Foolish individuals resist change, clinging to the familiar even when it's clearly harmful. The Stoics taught that life is in constant motion. Epictetus compared life to a game. You can't control the pieces you're given, but you can control how you play them. Fools, however, are paralyzed by fear. They'd rather stay stuck than face the discomfort of growth. Watching someone sabotage their own potential in this way is both infuriating and heartbreaking. Change is an inevitable part of life, and resisting it only leads to stagnation and missed opportunities. The Stoics embrace change as a natural and necessary aspect of existence, recognizing that growth often requires stepping out of one's comfort zone. Foolish individuals, on the other hand, are so afraid of the unknown that they remain trapped in unfulfilling and often destructive patterns of behavior. So, let's recap. Foolish people refuse to learn, are easily offended, chase pleasure over purpose, blame others for their problems, talk more than they think, and fear change. Recognizing these signs in others and in yourself isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. Because, as the Stoics believed, the path to wisdom begins with knowing your own flaws. Remember Marcus Aurelius' words, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. If this discussion has given you something to think about, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who could use a little Stoic wisdom. The journey to self-improvement is ongoing, and by reflecting on these signs of foolishness, we can all take steps toward living a more virtuous, fulfilling, and wise life. The Stoics remind us that the pursuit of wisdom is a lifelong endeavor, and it requires constant self-reflection and a willingness to confront our own shortcomings. By doing so, we can avoid the pitfalls of foolishness and move closer to the ideal of a life well lived.